Hey, my brothers and sisters, it is January 6th today, and January 6th for a long time in the tradition of the church has been marked as Epiphany. It's been handed down to us through many, many generations. Today is the day of Epiphany, and what follows is a number of weeks in the church that we refer to as the season of Epiphany. Epiphany, it's kind of a church word that we use that reminds us of that moment in time where Jesus Christ was revealed to the Magi, where Jesus Christ was revealed to the Gentiles, Jesus Christ being revealed to the outsiders, to those far from God. Beautiful moment in the scriptures. And like I said, the season of the church that is Epiphany, it actually runs the first part of the calendar year all the way up until the season of Lent, that season that leads up to Easter. Transfiguration Sunday's in there too. But the text that kind of guides our minds and our thoughts on Epiphany, that first day, is actually from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. So I thought I'd read those in our devotion time today. Matthew records these words: the visit of the Magi. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who is born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod saw this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the peoples, chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. "In Bethlehem, in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and make a careful search for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and of incense and of myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Oftentimes we read these words in Matthew and we think of the outsider. We think of those far from God, with the filter and the lens of those who don't yet know of Jesus. But that's the lesson here, and that's the movement in the church. That's how the story needs to progress. But it's good for us to read these verses in the context of what Matthew's writing here, because in those verses right before these verses in Matthew chapter 2, it reminds us why God has come. And you will call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. You see, before we actually can have this message of reconciliation and grace meet somebody else's life, it's first got to be my life. Before we have a conversation of getting it to the outsider for it, getting to the one far from God, it's got to be real for us. Emmanuel, personally, Jesus Christ and his grace and my reconciliation with the Lord himself, I got to get that first before it can move into somebody else's life. Christianity isn't just a story that moves outward. It's actually a movement of grace and reconciliation that first hits me and then makes its way into the world. And so on Epiphany, January 6th, I thought maybe that'd be a helpful reminder to you that until it's real for you personally, this message of grace and reconciliation, that God has loved you with an everlasting love, that doesn't get loose into the world. We're in a ministry season here. We just started this past week here at St. John's called Same Jesus, New You. And we're reminding and encouraging each other that God has not changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But what's changed and what's changing is you. God is doing a new work in you and in me in the days that we are living in, so that we are changed personally, but then also that the world might experience grace and reconciliation and hope and love and joy and peace. And we only get the opportunity to do that in the lives of others if we first get that in our relationship with Jesus. So on Epiphany Sunday, or Epiphany Wednesday, I guess it is, because January 6th falls on a Wednesday. On Epiphany Wednesday this year, 2021, that you'd be reminded in this revelation of grace and reconciliation in your life as it meets you personally, as you own that, as you discern that, as you internalize what it means to be now right with God, that you've been reconciled on account of Christ back to the Father. More and more of his love and his hope and his joy and the peace of Jesus actually gets loose in your life into the lives of others. It's what it means to connect with the outsider, the one who's far from God, that first and foremost, he's got a hold of you and he's got a hold of me. So that you'd be reminded of that on Epiphany Wednesday as the love of God continues to break through in your life and mine. Go get them, keep being awesome, and we'll see you soon. God bless.